WNYathletics.com would like to thank today's sponsors. Howard Hanna Real Estate Services. Ready to sell your home? Visit howardhanna.com today. Howard Hanna. Home happens here. Western New York Immediate Care, with 4 convenient locations in the Buffalo area: Amherst, Buffalo, Depew, Lancaster, and Orchard Park. Western New York Immediate Care is now offering telemedicine services to provide you care anytime, anywhere. Visit WNY Immediate Care on-site or virtually at WNYimmediatecare.com. Logistics Plus Buffalo is your go-to resource for all your transportation needs. LP moves freight of all shapes and sizes all across the world. Call LP Buffalo today at 716-877-9653 or email buffalo@logisticsplus.com. AdPro Sports. AdPro is the largest team sports dealers and brand merchandise providers in the nation. For a variety of custom merchandise solutions, from apparel to promotional items, visit adprosports.com. Empire Electric. For all your home, business, or office electrical needs, call Empire Electric at 716-634-0330. Free estimates and financing available for all customers. Empire Electric. Call 716-634-0330. Morning, everyone. Welcome to Inside High School Sports, High School Sports Saturday. Frank, WNY Athletics, along with Tom Prince and Francis Beck. Today we're going to be focusing on boys high school sports, or boys high school basketball, I should say. I'm all out of flux today. I've been up since 4 a.m.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's my problem. Anyways, we're going to get into high school boys basketball today. We spent a great deal of time on girls basketball last week. It's only fitting that we did boys today. And we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to get into boys basketball today. We're going to talk about some of the other sports at the top of the show after you hear from some of our sponsors. We'll be back in just a minute. You're watching High School Sports Saturday with Frank Wolf, Tom Prince, and Francis Beck.
Western New York Immediate Care's new locations are now open. Whether you've suffered a minor injury or just aren't feeling well, Western New York Immediate Care provides safe, quick, high-quality care at an affordable cost. Our clinicians are trained to diagnose and treat non-life-threatening injuries and illnesses and are equipped with on-site x-ray and labs to help you feel better, faster. With 4 convenient locations open 7 days a week, Western New York Immediate Care is here to help when and where you need us. Visit us online to learn more.
Do you insure a lot of businesses?
Yes, we do.
How about restaurants?
We got a bunch.
Do you cover property damage?
Yes, we do.
How about my equipment?
Covered.
How about sewer backup?
We got it.
What if my cook gets hurt?
They're covered.
Foodborne illnesses?
Covered.
What if my party tent goes down?
Covered under property damage.
And you say this is all under one policy?
One policy.
When do I pay?
Once a month.
Just one time?
Just one.
Is there anything you don't cover?
What's your record for consecutive questions asked?
31.
Tables. We don't do tables.
Gotta love Buffalo.
For all your insurance questions, call the Wolf at 835-WOLF.
Logistics Plus is a global transportation provider headquartered in Erie, PA, with locations worldwide, including right here in Western New York. Logistics Plus is consistently recognized as a fast-growing transportation and logistics company, great supply chain partner, top freight broker, leading project cargo manager, and a great place to work. With a strong passion for excellence, our 500-plus employees put the plus in logistics. Call our Buffalo office today for an efficient, personal approach for all of your transportation needs.
I love being home.
There's nothing better than owning the perfect house to come home to. You've earned it, and we'll make it happen. Our local real estate experts and in-house team of financial professionals make buying or selling your home simple. Howard Hanna. Home happens here.
I love being home.
Welcome back to High School Sports Saturday. It's Saturday, January 14th. Saturday, January 14th. I said that right, didn't I? Yesterday was Friday the 13th. So, anything.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. Jeez.
Yeah, I didn't either until it was late, but anything goes on Friday the 13th. So.
My mom used to work in a school. She's fully believes that it's the full moons and the Friday the 13th are real. Everything, all the crazy stuff happens.
Your mom?
Yeah. She said in school, like especially elementary schools, all the crazy stuff happens on those days.
Doesn't matter schools. Trust me, I'm in healthcare. I see the craziest stuff happen on those days. Those full moon and things, it's seriously. Your day gets thrown out of control. It really does.
We're supposed to have a lot more full moons this year, by the way, just so everyone knows. We're gonna have
Great.
A lot more
Oh,
full
I didn't
moons
know
in the
you-
calendar year. I heard it on Facebook. It's got to be true. Or WYRK, one of those stations I listen to in the morning. Anyways, it is another edition of High School Sports Saturday on WNYA Athletics. I'm Frank Wolf. I'm joined with Tom Prince and Francis Beck as we are every Saturday morning. We're doing this high school sports show again. We're focusing on Western New York. Of course, we'll talk about other sections when we get towards playoffs and things of that nature, but we focus on Western New York, the Monsignor Martin in Section 6. Lot going on. We're in the thick of it. We're winter sports. There has been some updates on Eastern States wrestling going on. Matt O'Rourke, the best wrestling guru in all of the state, in my opinion, is out there, and he's reporting. As of this morning, there were 10 wrestlers that had advanced into the quarterfinals, and Matt said that's extraordinary. Some of those at 102, we have 3: Braden Kellison Nuglia from Newfane, Jaron Barrientos from Starpoint, and Cullen Edwards of Frontier. At 126, we have 2, both from Niagara Falls: Amarfio Reynolds and Jaden Crumpler. At 132, Newfane, Aiden Buttery. 138, Griffin LaPant. 145, Cam Catcherbone, Williamsville North. 160, Gage LaPlante from Starpoint. And then 189, Jack McDonald from Orchard Park. So we have 10 guys that are there right now. Then there's a bunch of guys in Constellations. If you want to get more updates up to the minute, pretty much, you could follow at Matt O'Rourke on Twitter. He's at Matt_O'Rourke and then the number 1. He's on Twitter, and he's out at Eastern States right now bringing us updates and live coverage from that event. Good luck to those wrestlers participating.
Matt also wanted us to mention there are tournaments going on locally at Lockport, Falconer, and then there's some Western New York kids at Canandaigua as well. So a lot of wrestling going on this week. I know we are pretty much set Wednesday. We're going to be out at Niagara Wheatfield for a big battle between Wheatfield and Falls. Those two, one of the best wrestling rivalries really in Western New York. And so we'll be there this week. More details coming up social media the next few days. But certainly that'll be a good one. And I believe that's going to, I mean, they're getting right to the end of their league schedule. And they got their big class tournaments and individual tournaments kind of at the beginning of February. And
they squared off at the large school duels last week at Lancaster, and they had really a knockdown, drag-out effort from both teams that went down to just the last few matches there between Niagara Falls and Niagara Wheatfield. So that would be definitely one to watch, and we'll have it on the NFHS network, or you can go on. I believe it's at Niagara Wheatfield.
Yeah, it'll be on the
hosting,
NFHS network. I think it's around 6 o'clock it'll start.
Yeah, but you can go to Niagara Wheatfield and watch in person too if you want.
Or they can tune in on our
Or
stream.
you can tune in, whatever's easiest for you. And you can get good gas up there.
Yeah.
Smoking Joe's right
No,
across the
don't go
street?
to Smokin' Joe's.
No?
No, you go farther back. You get there a little early. Go farther back in the reservation. My advice is the more rundown and sketchier it looks, the cheaper the gas. And some of them, they'll actually fill it for you.
Is the gas quality as it is at Smoking Joe's?
Yeah, it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same.
Probably is. All right, I got you. I mean, how you doing on the car deal? Because you're buying.
That's actually happening this afternoon. I'm going to
pick one up, or
I'm going to shop.
Oh,
the
you're
appointment to
shopping for
shop
that car.
today. So
Really? What you got your eyes on? Maserati.
RAV4. You know,
RAV4?
something to get like the equipment in,
Okay.
but not like something big like you have, which, you know,
They're Prince.
yeah. Well, yours isn't too bad. It's a little big for my taste,
You
but
can live in it.
You can live in yours.
yeah.
Yeah. But that's what's going on right now. Francis is going out to get a new car later today. Look at new cars. There's wrestling going on all across. Basketball games. Tom, we got a big one today, right?
Yep. Depew versus East Aurora, big matchup, big class matchup. I think it's going to be a great game. One of the reasons we chose that one. Monday, we've got a full slate of games that we're going to be doing on the NFHS network. Plus, there's also some big games going on at McKinley right now as we speak, too. So A lot of big basketball. Last night. We had a big game with Newport and Niagara Falls. There is a lot of basketball going on, and and we're gonna get into that shortly, obviously.
We should also mention Jamestown is also playing Wheel North today at 2:30. That is also available.
That's boys.
Here. Boys.
Yeah, last week it was girls. Right? The same two teams played last week.
And you know what?
Jamestown,
I might have had
girls.
the teams wrong last week, but well, maybe not.
No,
Jamestown Wheel North boys are playing today.
Yeah, the girls played last week though. Those two teams down in Jamestown. We did
Yeah.
the game. You put it in.
Yeah.
It was a good game though, I guess. We have a great crew down in Jamestown that does those games for us. Jeremy, Norm, Storm and Norm, and Alex on camera, Colin Wood. Those guys do a fabulous job down there for us. We appreciate all the work that they do down there. I guess Ken Ricker is going to be joining them too on some broadcasts. I don't know if he's on today or not. Do you know if Ken's on today with those guys?
Let me see if I can look it up.
Ken Ricker might be on. He's well known down in those parts. He's coached Jamestown and
He coaches the girls.
yeah, and he coached the Dunkirk girls too for a stretch as well as the JCC, and he was doing Jamestown football. The freshman or the modified team, I can't remember, but he was doing the youth, the younger guys. So
We won't have Ken on today, but he'll, I guess, make his debut with us unless he was on earlier. He's going to make it a week from today, from girls basketball when Falconer takes on Randolph.
nice,
And then we're going to have him on Jamestown Lancaster a few days later. So
very good.
big games coming up. I did just see that they Jamestown scheduled a game against Canisius and then Park down there. So those are going to be interesting ones. We'll have to check with our crew to see if they can make any changes to their schedule. So that'll be certainly interesting there for that one.
Why don't you bring us up to speed, or if you're there yet? Because I know we want to talk about. We want to get a little bit on each sport here. But do you have anything going on right now with bowling?
Yeah.
Boys and
So
girls? Do
two
you have-
updates.
Okay.
Big news out of Kenmore. Senior Kaylin Weber just made a school record 278,247 pins. School record. She threw for 704 series at Rapids, so good for her. And then we had another 300 this week. Justin Collins for Depew. He threw a 300 Tuesday against Tonawanda at Broadway Lanes, and I want to double check here, but I believe that's our third 300 of the year. Let me look. Yeah. Oh no, we have a couple. So we have Collins has a 300, Mark Mankowski for Frontier, Joshua Zijak, West Seneca East, and Talon Newton for Grand Island. So there might have been another one from last week because I know we looked at this last week. So looks like there were maybe two. And then let me check for the girls. I didn't see anything on there last year, but I'll double check on there. I'm sure we've had girls that are close. No 300s yet. Kaylin Weber and Emma Snowman have the high games this year, 279, but no 300s yet for the girls.
The Weber girl, her older brother was the standout at St. Joe's.
Yeah.
I believe. Good for them. I know.
Can we point out one thing on bowling though right now too? Jake Willard right now over at Kenmore, 240 is what he's averaging right now. I want to put that into context for people so they really understand there. I mean, 240 right now is the kind of averages that you're talking about that, will a fringe tour player right there.
Wow.
Now, the difference is obviously the tour guy's playing on a little more difficult of a shot. But this is a serious average that he's out there pulling off right now and doing and leading right now the entire section. Very, very impressed. I mean, 240, you have four guys right now that are averaging over a 230. These averages are very impressive this year.
And I believe we were all over him last year towards the end.
Yep.
He was pulling away. He had a remarkable season anyways, 2022. What else you got in bowling, Francis? How are you on that? I know we're not doing we're not going to be able to live stream the Section 6 large and small boys and girls championships the way we had. We're looking at different ways in order to bring you some highlights of that. We're not going to do a live stream of that. That's out of the question. We've tried it. We've failed miserably in doing it. It was a valiant effort. by the crew here, but it's just not feasible with the amount of equipment and personnel it's going to take to do something like that. We don't have that capability. So we're not going to be able to do that, but I think we're going to get somebody down there at least to do some video and put a highlight package together for those guys and girls, because they do deserve something. We may try to stream Mount St. Mary's and Sacred Heart girls bowling. We may try to do that. They should be the Monsignor Martin. That should be the Monsignor Martin Championship right there. And if it is, we'll try to get out there for that one. And then we should try to get at least two, a boys and a girls, maybe in the Section 6. We'll try and go out to do at least one. If they're only using 2 lanes, we can pull that off. When you're using 20 to 30 lanes, it's tough. We've tried that. Even 6 lanes is tough.
All right, so real quick, we'll jump into the standings. Girls, right now in Buffalo leading the way, it's Olmsted. They're 4-0 on the season. CCAA Division 1, Fredonia is 6-0 leading the way. CCAA 2, it's Forestville, a 10-1 record this year. CCAA 3, Division 3, it's Allegheny Limestone. They're 8-0. ECIC North Large, Clarence is 8-0. ECIC North Small, Maryville, and Tonawanda are tied right now at 5-1 records. ECIC South Large, it's Frontier 8-0. Hamburg right behind them, 7-1. ECIC South Small leading the way right now, it's Pioneer, but close behind them is Springville, 6-1. North Tonawanda, or NFL, close race to the top. North Tonawanda is right now 7-0, and Kenmore 6-1. We mentioned 2 of the top bowlers are Kenmore in Section 6 are from Kenmore and North Tonawanda, so that'll be a close race there. And then
that was the girls you just did.
That was
right?
the girls.
Okay.
Yeah. But the top 2 female bowlers are from Kenmore and North Tonawanda. And then we'll go to the boys.
It is funny. You're going to see as you go through the boys, a lot of the similar teams are up top with each other that match up with each other. You know what I mean? That you're going to see leading the way, right? Clarence for the girls, you said? Well, Clarence is for the boys, right?
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot of carryover like that between the two as you go through them.
Yeah, so Bennett, McKinley are both undefeated in Buffalo. CCAA Division 1, it's Falconer and Fredonia at the top. CCAA Division 2, Maple Grove right now is 10-0-1. I don't know how you have a tie in bowling. It seems like improbable, but I don't know enough about the sport to say
there's that happens more often than you think in
okay.
bowling.
CCAA Division 3, Genesee Valley and Salamanca are both 8-1. Gowanda's 8-2. ECIC North Large, it's again Clarence and Starpoint at the top, 7-1. ECIC North Small, we see Maryville again. They're 6-0. This is boys. Frontier again, and ECIC South Large, they're 10-0. ECIC South Small, you see JFK up top, 7-0. And then NFL, Niagara Falls is 8-0, really leading the way in that one. So that's kind of your bowling report there, some of your top teams, and we'll try to see if we can get out to some of these matches before the season comes to a close. Believe it or not, I think it was this week we finally got our playoff schedule, and it's hard to believe, beginning of February is when the postseason for some of these sports actually start. So, I mean, there's only a couple weeks really left in the regular season.
Yeah, for certain sports, it's going to be over before you know it. And girls hockey is one of those where literally they're right up against it.
I think it's like maybe the 7th or something is their first day of playoffs.
Thank you for that report on girls and boys bowling. And girls hockey, it continues to be the Kenji show. They're 11-0 now, 33 points in the standings. Now, this is interesting. Hamburg, Eden, West Seneca, Holland has taken over second place from Niagara County. They now have 29.5 points. They've got 9 wins, 1 loss, 1 tie, and 1 overtime loss.
And if you're asking out there, the girls hockey counts the points differently. So regulation win is 3 points, and like overtime wins are 2. So like things for that. So it's a little different from like maybe you see in the NHL.
Niagara County's at 9-2, 27 points. So it's really like a 3-team race there, but I wouldn't count out Williamsville just yet. I don't think you can count Flop out, and then, Lita or Aldi's is hanging in there. I've seen the Cash team a few times now. Their game, I just think they're not there yet. They can't compete with some of these other teams right now. They're getting there, but they just don't have the experience or the depth. They've got one line that's going pretty good, but Kenji did a great job of shutting their top line down Thursday, pulling out a 5-0 victory. The goaltending was superb. Actually, the goaltending for Cash has been exceptional. They got a girl there that stepped up to play goalie.
Was that
Paige?
Paige, yeah. And I think her older brother played for Amherst just a couple of years ago and was a strong goalie
Kenji
there.
won 5-0, but that could have been 12-0. It really, Kenji really did a great job of closing them down and keeping the shots at a distance. So Kenji, to me at least, seems to be running away with it. But I know that Hughes team in Niagara County are definitely licking their chops to get another shot at them. And I'm just looking at the schedule to see if they do come up again. I know Flop has a shot with Kenji coming up. Oh yeah, here we go, Francis. On January 18th, it's Wednesday. Kenji and Hughes, 4:30, out at West Seneca. But before that, Tuesday night at 8 p.m., they get Niagara County. So Kenji's going to have a tough week. You're going to get Niagara County and then Hughes. So it's a big week for Kenmore. We'll see how they can pull that out. But before, even Hughes has another big game with Aldi. I did one of their games earlier, and yeah, Hughes won. But Aldi, if they can get a few more pucks to the net, and they may be able to have something to say there too. So it's I think it's wide open. Any one of those top 3 teams are definitely in it. But Williamsville has, they're not going away. Those Rick Hopkins coach teams are usually pretty good. On the boys' side of things, Francis, we saw a great game the other day with Will North and Will East.
Wait a minute. Let's back up in the week. You saw a great game between Kenmore East and Kenmore West.
We're talking about that?
Yes, we have to.
It was fabulous.
That's already telling me that East must have won that game, right?
In overtime.
East won overtime. And that was a fabulous game. And, the Ish kid coming back to play, that's a great story right there. I know Channel 7 did something on him earlier in the week. We're working on something. But this kid, he had a big goal in that game. There was one point where he got hit behind the net and fell, and there was some concern right away. I could see his dad running from one end of the rink all the way to the bench just to see how his son was doing. But he got up and he got back to the bench, and he said he may not be playing every shift the way you normally do. He might be having to take a shift off here and there because he has to get back up to, that level of play. He doesn't look out of place. He looks great. You would never know that there was ever an issue with him, but he's back and he looks great out there. He really does. But no, Kenmore East, Francis, they were very good. McKinney, the overtime winner. He and Austin Turnbull, you may remember, he's their kicker for the football team. Both those guys scored in that game. In fact, at one point, they were leading West 3-1, and there were 3 penalties called on the same play. A 2-minute minor, and then both 2 5-minute majors going on at the same time. What that means is Ken West had 5-on-3 for 5 straight minutes. And they scored 2 goals to make it 3-3. They got themselves back in the game. I think they even took the lead, Francis. If I remember correctly, Ken West may have had the lead at 4-3, and Ken East got one late, and they came back and won the game in overtime with McKinney's shot. But that was a fabulous game. Both sides, both teams. It was a good, hard-hitting crosstown rivalry game that you would expect. And yeah, I'm glad we did that game. That was a great game. Coach Trevor Prey is on the bench now with his dad Kyle.
Oh, he is. Okay.
Yeah. So that was good to see Trevor out there. But Kyle Prey is one of the best in the business. He's got state title under his. He's got 2 state titles under his. I believe he's got 2 state titles. Unless he was with Grand Island at the time or coaching somewhere else. But Kenmore East has won the state title prior to.
Yeah, well, that was 2012. He was in 8th grade.
Not him, his dad.
Oh, his dad. Yeah, his dad has 2 state titles.
You really thought I was thinking about
Yes.
Trevor at age 12?
Yes.
No, Trevor at age 12 was kicking the crap out of my youth baseball team in the town of Tonawanda. No, his dad. I think he's got 2 state titles. He's got at least one, so that's good. But then on Thursday we saw Will East and Will North, and that game was they had the teddy bear toss after the first goal, and Will East scored the first goal.
No, Will North.
Oh, they did? I must have been sleeping at that part. But I woke up quickly. Will East came back to win that game. They were down, and they rallied to win. I thought North did score. You're right, they did. Great game, though. Action-packed. Timmy Gardner was there with us, and who was my camera guy?
That was
Russ?
Tim.
Tim was the camera guy
Yeah.
and the producer?
Yeah.
I got to turn around more when I'm at these games. John Kruba did a great job on that call, by the way.
You know, I was looking at Willie's schedule as that game was going on, like right when the game ended, and I was looking at it and I realized not only are they undefeated in league play, they're undefeated in Section 6. They have 4 losses on year, but here are their losses: Penfield from Section 5, Brighton, I believe, also from Section 5. Chaminade, who we've seen
beat Nichols last year, or lost to Nichols. Nichols beat them in the. Or
it was a very close game,
I
but
think Nichols won the championship. Remember, there's a big brawl after.
yeah. That we have Pelham, who's been to the state
their
championship,
state champion team. They won state championship 2 years ago.
and those are their only losses. I mean, everyone else, they beat North. Who, I was trying to find out how long it had been. Coach Torello didn't know. We kind of, between the coaching staff and I, summarized around 8 years at least.
Since they won?
Since East beat North.
Wow.
Now, they don't play every year. That's a factor of it.
Yeah.
But still, we know how good North is, and they're, in that large school division. And usually East is good, but they're always in that small school division. So logic usually would dictate that the larger school would win that battle. But so that was big for them. And Coach Trillo was telling me, Mike Scioli, who scored that second goal, he played football for him. Coach Trillo is also the football coach. And I guess he'd been asking Coach Trillo since football season, are we going to play North? Are we going to play North? I want to play North. And, of course, they did, and he scored a key goal in that game.
Well, it was packed. There wasn't a seat available, I don't think. At least on our side of the rink, there wasn't a seat available. So that was good to see. And you saw a number of the North football players were out there supporting their hockey team, and same thing can be said with East. The kids really came out for that game.
I think we saw a few East basketball players who's not having a too bad a season as well. They came out as well. I believe I saw Dorian Faison Jr.
Did you?
I
thought I
did.
might have caught him too. I think I saw him too. But it was a great night for boys hockey. St. Francis continues to lead the Monsignor Martin at 4-0-2. They're 7-0-2 overall. In that Niagara Frontier League, East now with a 6-1 record, but it's Wheatfield that's at 6-0 in the NFL. So I'm interested to see what their rest of their schedule looks like.
Yeah, and East and Wheatfield play each other twice in that final week.
Okay, well that's
so we're gonna try to get one of them. I think they're meeting on a Thursday night or something.
Okay.
At Northtown, I think we'll try to get them. Then they meet like 2 days later. But obviously, Kenmore West is still having a great year. Star Point is off. We haven't seen them. I haven't seen them yet, but we know they're 4-1 on the season, at least in their division. So they got a bunch of games left, but that small division is looking as
well. Niagara Wheatfield has Star Point today at 12:40. I don't know where that game is.
I think it's at Hockey Outlet and up in Wheatfield.
Okay, let me just double check that. 12:40 today. They square off against Star Point, and it is Hockey Outlet Rink 1. So I've got basketball practice from 12 to 1 today, but maybe I can get up there for the third period just to check on those two teams, see how they're coming along.
But yeah, the small schools is as packed as ever. This is going to be a fun race to the end and fun playoffs.
How about the large schools? I mean, Lancaster wants something to say about this. Orchard Park with just the one loss a couple weeks ago to Will North. Clarence at 4-2, 1-1. They're definitely 100% in the mix. Goals for, I look at that, and Lancaster's up there with 33, and then Orchard Park at 27, and Clarence at 24. So they're not that far off. The problem is Clarence is not getting the goaltending that they have had in recent years. They've given up 18 goals. this year already. And then you talked about Will East. I don't think Iroquois Alden is out of the mix at all. I think they're still a team that's you're going to have to talk about, and you're going to have to face them eventually. It's a team you're not going to want to see.
Braden Axelson, I think, is still the top scorer in the section. We'll pull this up in a second, but I know he was for a long time. Yeah, he is.
25.
25 goals, 19, 12 assists. So. It's hard to beat that.
We'll check those guys out later, either today or next week. We'll check on those guys. But that's pretty much the news out of boys and girls hockey at this point. I know we're going to be moving on to boys basketball. Why don't we take another quick little break?
Well, why don't we get the girls in and then?
Well, why don't we do that right after break?
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do a little snippet on girls basketball, catch you up there on what's going on in the Monsignor Martin and the large and small schools. And if you're out there watching, if you have a question on Facebook, ask your question on Facebook, and we'll address it here and go from there. But you're watching High School Sports Saturday and WNYA Athletics. We'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
Sometimes it just isn't your day. We all need a little help from time to time. That's why we're committed to providing safe, quick, and cost-effective care. And we keep it simple. Just walk in. We're here for you. Learn more today.
Do you insure a lot of businesses?
Yes, we do.
How about restaurants?
We got a bunch.
Do you cover property damage?
Yes, we do.
How about my equipment?
Covered.
How about sewer backup?
We got it.
What if my cook gets hurt?
They're covered.
Foodborne illnesses?
Covered.
What if my party tent goes down?
Covered under property damage.
And you say this is all under one policy?
One policy.
When do I pay?
Once a month.
Just one time?
Just one.
Is there anything you don't cover?
What's your record for consecutive questions asked?
31.
Tables. We don't do tables.
Gotta love Buffalo.
For all your insurance questions, call the Wolf at 835-WOLF.
We realize now more than ever is the perfect time to have the perfect house. We're confident we'll find your dream home. Howard Hanna. Home happens here.
Welcome back, everybody, to High School Sports Saturday and here on WNYA Athletics. We do it every Saturday from 9 to 11, and our topic of discussion for the most part today is going to be boys basketball. Frank Wolf, Tom Prince to my right, Francis Beck to my left. Want to shout out to Roger Weiss, I'm sure he's watching, and Nelson Adams, and of course Matt O'Rourke out at Eastern States today. Thank you guys for watching, and if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them on Facebook, and we'll get to them throughout the program, and we'll address them. Good week of girls basketball basketball this week. We had one incident in the O'Hara-Lancaster game. We don't want to dwell on that, but I will say this. I think Nick O'Neill is one of the best coaches in Western New York. I think O'Hara is one of the standard programs. Nick might have got some bad emails or some calls this week about the way he coaches his team, but I'm going to tell you, Nick, you do a great job. It was an unfortunate incident, but I think that's just two teams that play hard, and just sometimes things happen. Sometimes emotions
it's
get
the
the
heat
better
of the
of you.
moment.
Yeah.
You're two young players. We don't want to let this define them. I think.
Absolutely not. But this is
hopefully
the way
it's a learning experience.
That's the way O'Hara plays. They play a tough, physical brand of basketball, and that's just the way they play. And you got to know that everyone has film on them. But Amari DeBerry, that's what she went through when she played at Will South. Shay Chesky, that's what she went through when she played at St. Mary's of Lancaster. This is the brand of ball that they play, and look, you're going to argue with state champions, with teams that go out and win Monsignor Martin year after year. It's a good brand of basketball.
When you play a full court press and you're pressing often in the game, the purpose of a press is to get right up on your player or to double team certain players to make sure you're causing traps and angles and different things to really be able to cut down there. And when you are in a full court press, it is very quick, fast, and aggressive is what it is. There is nothing wrong with being that type of thing. You see it on the flip side. We see teams constantly doing this throughout New York State, throughout Section 6, on the boys' side of the spectrum, all the time. It is a certain style of play. And in fact, you'll probably see it if you are playing on the AAU circuit almost every single game you'll see it out there like
Do
that.
you know who got better that day? Lancaster. Because they're going to see this again when they get, if they happen to win the Section 6, they're going to see it, that type of defense at some point. And they handled it well. They didn't get the win. They didn't get the outcome they wanted.
They brought it within two within about 2 minutes to go.
Yeah,
that says a
so
lot.
Lancaster got much, much better playing O'Hara. I know they're not playing the next game for maybe that's the smart thing to do right now. But I would like to see that pick up again. I would love to see that matchup again. You guys did a great job on the broadcast, though. You guys did a phenomenal job. Stu, Paul, everyone involved did a great job. Great game. O'Hara did lose a couple of nights ago to Nichols. You guys did that game, and they were without two of their starters. But even still,
I got to tell you, though, Russell for Cardinal O'Hara stepped up beautifully. Okay. She looked amazing out there in the court. She really felt no matter where she put a shot up on the floor, it was going down. Yeah, when you saw it in her face, right? You saw the confidence. And she was one of the big players in the Cardinal O'Hara Lancaster game, too.
She really closed out that game.
Yeah. I mean, she really was, you could see, like, just say, okay, you know what, team, I'm going to put you on my back for today. And that is, you know, boy, to say that you now have a third player like that on Cardinal O'Hara's team is going to be something that is going to bode well for Cardinal O'Hara in the very near future.
Tom, I saw Nichols early in their year, and I know you saw them last year, and they have some of the same players, but, I mean, they looked, obviously we know about Bree Barr. She did fantastic, but I think the key this year is the way that Quinn Benchley has really stepped up. And
see, Benchley, I've interviewed her before. She's also stepped up before in this game. To be honest with you, when you look at Barr Boudet, right, when you actually look at her game, I'm actually even more impressed with her than I've been in even years in the past. She has now taken her athleticism to another level. And I asked her in the interview, I said, listen, I've watched you grow up in Section 6 basketball right since you were in 7th grade that was out there. And I now can say, you are faster, you are stronger. There are certain things you've done to change your game out on the court. Talk to me about it. And she absolutely addresses it and said, I did. This is what I focused on. This is what I wanted to get better at. And you could see it. She gets down in the blocks low. Her footwork has to be one of the best in Western New York down in the blocks down there. And she really can get to that, you know, get that ball up off the glass, going to either her left or her right. But when she gets down in the blocks and gets that ball one-on-one, she's dangerous. And Benchley, when you look at her in the game against Cardinal O'Hara, this Cardinal O'Hara-Nichols game was tight, was very close at halftime. Benchley had no points coming into the second half. She lights it up then in the second half. 3 3-pointers plus a 2-pointer. I think she ended up with 12 in the game, all second half points, and one of the big reasons for them to be able to push away. Benchley, in her interview, and we didn't get a chance to put that out because something happened on the save of the interview, but she says that early on what she liked, they actually made a change with her. They kind of took her off the point, what they did, and made her more of a shooting guard in the second half, gave her the opportunity to start putting up some threes and do some things from three-point land, and that's the reason why Benchley comes up big in the second half to help out Nichols.
Nice. All right, we are going to get into boys basketball right now. And I wanted to start with congratulating Ryan Mountain from North Tonawanda on his 150th win. I saw that on Twitter by our good buddy Joe Kraus. Thank you very much for that, Joe. He was at a good game last night, which I'm sure we're going to talk about. I don't know if we're going to start in double A's, but he was at the Newport game yesterday.
Oh, okay.
You know, Tom, I looked at some of these scores yesterday from games, and a couple of them really opened my eye. How about this? I saw Sweet Home lost to West Seneca East. South Park beats Global Concepts. Big win for them. Cheektowaga over Elmstead. Okay. I didn't get a Medina Barker score. I know those two teams are under 500, but usually Medina puts all their scores out right away, so I'm surprised they didn't report that one. Yeah, we saw the Newport take down Niagara Falls, who were previously undefeated. You know, CSAT is another team that's been coming on these last couple seasons. They beat Kenmore West yesterday by 4, I believe. 3 points, whatever. But that West Seneca East win over Sweet Home caught my eye, Tom. I don't know. I'm sure you saw that. NT takes down Newfane. I don't think that's Something to write home about. That was probably expected. Orchard Park had a game with Frontier. It was only 4 points.
Frontier's
6 points.
good.
Yeah, Frontier gave them a game. The other game of the night, though, Salamanca, Allegheny Limestone, I thought that they won by like 16 points. It was close maybe in the third, but Salamanca really pulled away, so that was one that really
Big thing in that game, too.
Which was
a 1,000-point scorer.
Okay.
It was actually the 1,000-point scorer came from Lucas Brown in that game for Salamanca, where he actually has his 1,000-point scored there.
Congratulations to him. Amherst.
Nick Moore also had his 1,000-point scored in that one.
Hamburg had a big one over Star Point. Here's one, too, that caught my eye. Clymer over Westfield by 11. So that was a big win.
They've all been good. That Clymer, the
playing
Sherman, Panama, Westfield, they've been all going at each other in the D conference down there.
So that Amherst in that win, they beat Iroquois. And they've had a pretty good season. I don't have any
Amherst,
stats.
I'm going to tell you, Amherst right now to me is the team to beat. We've talked about them in a couple broadcasts right here.
Yeah.
Their defense just is that good this year.
You're talking about their defense, Tom, but they might be one of the top scoring teams in the league.
Well, but remember, defense leads to offense, right? There's a lot of fast break points.
We're talking Section 6 right now. We're
Right.
not. We didn't include the Monsignor Martin here. Sorry.
A lot of fast breaks, right? A lot of steals that lead into easy buckets. That's the reason for some of those higher scoring outcomes, because of what their defense is producing out there. Like I said, it's very opposite to what, a lot of basketball fans know college basketball, at least have a good feel, right? And I mean, Francis, I know you may not be an all-out basketball guy, but when I say to you Syracuse basketball, you know that's a zone team. You know what I mean? You know that's all they're going to play is zone. Well, the strength of the Syracuse's zone has always been the length along the bottom of the zone, right? Or the back of the zone right at the basket. That's where your three players are. And then you got your two up top. But it's the three that's down low and the length that really can stop everybody from penetrating in the zone that really is the key. And you can't pass across that zone because of the length of those players that are there. This is opposite. It's actually the top of the zone that really is that good and that dominant this year, especially being able to attack the ball and to be able to get the hands out of the ball handler. That is really what they've done and been so good at so far this year. And think about it. You come in and get a double team on you on the top of that key and a pass comes out, it's usually a player coming across getting that pass, and it's an easy layup on the other end.
So just an update from Eastern States from Matt O'Rourke. This just in, Newfane Wrestling, Braden Kellis-Neglia at 102, moving on to the semifinals, as is Cullen Edwards and Marfio Reynolds from Niagara Falls. So congratulations to those guys on moving on. And the semifinals, we got another 7 guys to go yet. We're waiting for reports on. Back to basketball time.
So, and then you talked about Sweet Home. So losing to West Seneca East, I'm not going to tell you that's a big shock right now. Sweet Home has only won one game at this point, remember, on the season. So they are 1-9. Obviously missing Theodore is one of their top players out there. I just think they're a little banged up right now, and it's just because of missing some key players that are out there. But, I do want to give a little love out there to our team over at West Seneca East. I also want to give some love to Jeff Relabate, who's been really wasn't the basketball player that was out there, has come on, really helped this team at West Seneca East get some big wins. They got a game against West Seneca West today. That'll be their rivalry game, obviously, when East and West plays, just like you talk about with the Kenmore side of the spectrum. And, Cable and Gospodarski for West Seneca East also helping lead the way for them. Granted 3-8, but still every win to them you could really see is something that they really build upon.
Where would you guys like to start? Do you want to start at the double A's, or do you want to go start in the D's and we'll work our way up? Or start with the Monsignor Martin? I'm looking forward to today. I think I am going to go out to McKinley and check out that. I guess Timon's playing McKinley today. So I'm going to head out to that one.
Either way, we can go here. I mean, obviously, I think I would start right now at the Double A's just because we had such a big matchup last night. And I'll tell you, two of the top teams in Western New York come out of the Double A's. And one of them we're probably not talking about enough. And that's Health Sciences. We really know they are a team to be reckoned with year after year after year. And I don't know why we're not talking about them enough, because maybe because they moved up to Double A and, didn't win everything at A last year. But I'll tell you, watch out. And I think their biggest win has already come this season was the win over Nichols.
Yeah.
When you talk about exactly what they're capable of doing, their only loss on this season is to Canisius.
That was 3 points.
And it was 3 points, and it was the very first game of the season to boot. Right? Which, you don't know what to expect from any team on your first game of the season right out there. So, listen, this team is going to be somebody you watch out for. Their next big game that I really want to watch out for will be February 4th as they take on St. Joe's in that game. That, to me, is going to probably be one of the biggest matchups. We'll see. Do they make up their game against Lancaster at the same time? That was on December 30th, obviously.
No, they played that. That was the St. Francis tournament.
I apologize. You're right. They did, and they won 60-37 in that one. I apologize. I was looking at the points on it, and I apologize not looking at the score. But you see, they've got some really big games that are still to come up. They're going to be, right now, when you look at it, are probably could be them in Niagara Falls that really compete for the Double A championship right there. The question is, will there be another team that could step up and take them on? Obviously, Jamestown's one of those teams that's positioning themselves with a 6-1 record to start off the season. They've got some big games, as we already talked about, coming up, right? You've got Williamsville North. They've got Orchard Park, right? They're going to go out of conference and play Elmira. They're going to play Timon on the 4th, which could be a really big matchup for them. Some really big games that are still to come right now to really see where Jamestown is in the thick of things.
I want to pull.
This game was a late scheduler.
Yeah, I don't think the one on the update on the schedule on the website is up to date. They have Canisius on the 23rd. They're hosting Canisius, and then they're hosting Park on Saturday the 28th.
And that's a makeup game, the Park game. That's supposed to happen a couple weeks ago.
So you can see it's obviously some big games to really see where Jamestown is in the mix of things. Will North has been a team already showing that they're going to be in the mix. They've got wins over Orchard Park and Frontier, their last two games. A loss to Lancaster, a 2-point loss. Listen to the score, 33-31. So you could just imagine the defense that was brought in that game. And a loss to Lockport. Lockport is a team that we're going to be talking about too, who I think could scare a couple teams here. And really should be in the thick of things when you talk about it. Their losses, look at this: Nichols, Timon, Niagara Falls, and Wheatfield. Right? Really the top teams that you could be talking about in Section 6 right out there.
Lost Niagara Falls by 3 points.
Yeah. Timon was was one of the big blowout. Nichols was a 10-point game, right? Niagara Falls was 3, and 9 for Niagara Wheatfield. So it's not like they haven't been in there. Win then over North Tonawanda, win over Will North, win over CSAT, and a win over Kenmore East. They are absolutely going to be in the middle of this, and watch out what what Lockport is going to actually provide.
Lockport and Lewiston Port play on Tuesday.
Yep, could be a very good matchup right there. 100%.
Canisius, don't they play them on Monday?
Say that again?
Niagara Falls and Canisius.
Yep, Niagara Falls and Canisius. In fact, that'll be the game that Stu and I will be doing together. Frontier, Orchard Park, watch out. They're two teams that are getting stronger as the season goes on. Orchard Park had some key injuries right there and missed Dylan Evans for a couple games there also. You are definitely going to see them into the mix of things here shortly. Well, like I said, the one thing that actually surprises me probably out of this entire conference is the bigs. you really haven't seen those bigs like we normally see inside of Western New York, right? We talked about Joba in the past with Orchard Park, right? We talked about multiple guys over at Lancaster, right? When you had Mazer and you had Harrington both side by side next to each other for the Lancaster boys. Like, you really just wasn't the same bigs that we're seeing throughout Western New York for that consistency that you're really looking for from a big right there. Somebody you had to really contain, somebody you had to really go after defensively and stop. We really don't see a lot of that. Amherst is another one, right? Bo Hubble was the one you had to worry about down low. You had to worry about McDuffie. Not that he was the 6'8" kid, but the kid played like he was 6'8" down low, right? Those are the kids that we're really not seeing a ton of down low, that big body presence.
Well, I mean, AA is loaded, Tom. I'm looking through the schedule there. I'm very interested in seeing this McKinley team against Timon tonight, and see how those two teams get after it tonight. I believe it might be a 6 or 6:30 tip off.
And two guys to recognize for the health sciences. Definitely want to recognize this. Amir Mo, 18 points a game. How about Xavier Benton? He's a kid we've been talking about now for 3 years, right? Was the next kid that was going to be coming up for health sciences. He's getting his senior moment right now. He's averaging 16 points a game. I do like him at the point. I think he could be really good for them at the point. And, you know, we haven't really talked about Niagara Falls in the sense of the guys to be recognized, right? Because they really do have a solid team. Jane Robinson leads the way right now at 17.8 points. Omarion Rollins with 12.1 points a game. Nick Etzel at 10 points, 0.8 points a game. You're talking about three guys right there in double figures. And, no doubt to me, I don't care even with a loss at Newport, I still think that you've got to put Niagara Falls as right now the top team still in Western New York. Listen, they have played an unbelievable schedule, and they've gone outside of Section 6 plus in Section 6. Monsignor Martin, they are fearless in their schedule. There was no doubt that a game was going to be, they were going to go down somewhere in the game. I don't even think Coach would have said they thought they were going to go perfect the whole way. Right, but he's challenged them to get ready for the postseason is exactly what he's trying to do, and I love what Coach Bradbury's doing out there. I really do like what he's doing with that Niagara Falls team.
All right, let's move on, I think, to Class A1, right? So right now we have in the lead point differential average McKinley from Buffalo, followed by Niagara Wheatfield, IPrep, Will East, Hamburg and North Tonawanda are tied at 5. Then you have Kenmore West, Hutch Tech, Sweet Home, West Seneca West. But I think it starts with McKinley and Niagara Wheatfield. And we know Wheatfield went on that run last year, and it looks like they're keeping up with Xander Fletcher back.
I mean, I wouldn't, Will East, I wouldn't count them out, or North Tonawanda. I think that's a 4 to 5 team race there, Tom.
Will East is not the same team without their point guard. They're just not.
They're learning to play.
You got to remember, he has been the scorer for years out
not
there.
Just a scorer, but he can dish the ball.
Absolutely, he is literally, the ball has been in his hands the entire game, and that's what they're trying to get.
Yeah.
McKinley, to me right now, McKinley and Niagara Wheatfield, I believe are your two teams right out there. Now, this is where we go to the bigs, right? I just talked to you about McKinley has the true big right there, and that's Kevin Borden that's out there. Yeah. And he really is a tough stop. And what I've loved about Borden is that what he's taken his game to out there and really done some things to change his game. And you can see the speed and athleticism of him on the court, especially down low in the middle, especially when they go to a zone, is really, really tough. I really think that right there, that team McKinley leading the way, one loss on the season. The one loss was to East Aurora, who we're going to get a chance to see today, and it was a 2-point loss, right? 2 points. That's their only loss so far going into this season, and we'll see from there. And Niagara Wheatfield, we've talked about it. Xander Fletcher has been a kid that we've been watching for now 3 years. And he is absolutely one of the leaders on the team. Again, like what they're doing, lost to Salamanca early on in the year, and we've already talked about what Salamanca has brought to the mix. Went outside to Ohio, lost at Depew, who we're going to see again coming up right now, and then a loss at Niagara Falls. So, again, some big games right there.
And they have a big win over Orchard Park,
Yeah.
AA school. Almost
That was
a 30-point
that
win.
was one of the ones that Evans wasn't at. A couple guys were missing for Orchard Park, but still go up in class and still go in and get a big win against the AA school. Absolutely.
I like the Watson kid. I mean, Alexander, we love
Yeah.
Fletcher, but I like the Watson kid too from Niagara.
No. There's a lot of scores when you talk about what they can provide out there. Watson is that. Also, Quitkoff is another one that we absolutely have. That Ty is a big player and could go down low as well as play, like a shooting guard type position. And Watson is another one. He could go up and down and be able to help you on both sides of the court. And these are guys that, if you remember, when they won their championship, these were the guys that we were out there talking to and making sure that we got some extra interviews because they were that big for the team. They lose their big, right? And they also lose Robinson, which was the other half of the big scoring right there when you looked at, him and Xander that were the two top scorers in the past.
I'm going to stick with the NT. I like what I see there out of NT as a group. I think they're learning how to win together. They were kind of giving up and not giving up. That's not what I'm going to say. I can't say what I want to say, but they were, they'd have leads late, Tom, and they couldn't protect them. They couldn't hold them. But
Listen,
they're starting to win those close games.
but NT has always been a top team in Western New York. They were, for you remember, years like a somebody you'd see and planned on being at Buff State, and it was a staple at Buff State. And you even got to look at their schedule. Their 4 losses have come Niagara Falls, Niagara Wheatfield, Lockport, we already talked about, and Newport is the other top team. So this isn't like they've got a bad loss in there. Those are very good teams in Western New York and good barometers to set yourself up to see exactly where your team stands. Big win over Olean in this one. A big win over rival Tonawanda right here. They've got another one still against Niagara Falls. They're going to play Niagara Wheatfield again, and Lockport and Lancaster, which are still some big games to be able to test your team. I think you got to win one of those games out there to really take and turn the next corner, especially as you're going to try to make a run at Lewiston Porter, or Niagara Wheatfield, or any of those other teams that are
Patrick
out there.
McNeil is 6'6", a big, but he plays. He can play anywhere on the court. He can bring the ball up for you. He can drain the three. He's an interesting player to watch. But we're looking good there in A1 time. We got a lot of good teams there. And it's going to be interesting to see who we see at Buff State.
And Patrick averaging 18.4 points a game right there too.
You want to do A2 and then we'll go to a break before we go to the beach? Why don't we do A2 before we get to break, Francis? Is the sponsor calling, threatening to pull?
Honestly, I really don't know if anyone's going to challenge Amherst right here.
Okay. In A2?
Yeah. I just think they are that good when you look at the talent that's out there right now. And if you look at right now, there are only 4 teams in A2 that even have above 500 records. Amherst at 9-2, Williamsville South at 6-2, South Park at 8-3, and CSAT at 6-5. Amherst, their 2 losses on the year go to a team from Kentucky as 1 loss, and then lost to Pittsburgh Mendon out of Rochester. Those are their only 2 losses right here on the season. They've also played Will South already this year, won 76-45 against Will South this year. Was a game we covered. It was one of those games early on in the season. I just really believe right now that Amherst is going to be kind of the top of that class.
They do have another game with Will South.
Yep.
Coming up, I want to say Friday night, and they got a game against Canisius, Francis and Tom. The game against Lockport. Those are big schools, good quality programs that you can use to help you prepare for the run to Buff State.
Yep.
But I agree with you on Amherst.
Yeah, and then, but listen, Will South also has a player that we've been talking about for years that's going to lead the way for that team and can absolutely make things difficult. You know, Nick DiGiulio is somebody we've been talking about for years over there, and he's got the game to be able to do, and is a very dangerous player out there. Yep.
I'm glad he went back there.
You know, and he's averaging 16 points per game right now for Will South. Really leading the team right there. You could see it. He not only can shoot the ball well from the outside, but he's very dangerous when he slashes through the lane to the basket and really uses that left hand to really separate himself and really put points up on the board and puts them up quickly.
The other thing about Amherst, you know, I think there's something to be said for teams that make those far runs into the playoffs like they did going all the way to Glens Falls last year. I mean, those kids that might not have seen big minutes saw what it took to get there. You know, so the guys like McDuffie and Habiel, you know, instilled a work ethic in these kids, and that's why they're playing with such high confidence, and why they have 9 wins already on the season.
And I'll tell you, we talk a lot about Nick Moore, obviously, as one of the leaders on that team, but there's another name that we've got to make sure that we discuss, and it's Jordan Alexander, right? Jordan Alexander averaging 24 points per game. He actually comes over from Maryville, is where he transferred in from. This kid's unbelievable. And he really is the perfect 1-2 punch with Nick Moore out there. Yeah. You know, you can't focus on one versus the other. He really will be up for Player of the Year. I mean, that's how good he's been this year and what he done from a scoring perspective. I mean, think about that. How many guys do we know really with the challenge that we've seen for Amherst at 24 points per game? The only kind of averages that we're really seeing like that throughout, you know what I mean, Western New York, really are from some of the lower, conferences where you've got an opportunity to really put more points up on the board right there. Let's see if we can actually, if I can get you the... So you've got right now Jordan Rogers at 37.8 per game. There, he's with Buffalo Arts. Carson Swanson, who we've been talking about, averaging 27.3 points per game at Westfield. Jalen Duff over at Newport with 27 points per game, right? Matthew Panis over at Southwestern, 26.7. Derek Ebersol, a name we've been talking about over at North Collins, with 26.3, and then Jordan Alexander, 6th at 24.7 right there. So when you look about it, right, when you look about a team that's challenging themselves with some of the schedules that we've seen out there really going up above.
You mentioned Carson Swanson?
Huh? Yeah. Carson Swanson's number 2 when we did.
He's 3rd in the state.
Public
high school.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's been tearing it up for Westfield.
I don't want to know if I say 3rd in the state. On this website, they only have Section 3 and Section 6. But he's 27.3 is nothing to sniff at.
No, and I've got him looking at just Section 6 is what I'm looking at right now. But the impressive thing is he's a 10th grader. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's a 10th grader doing this, right? So just imagine how much more we're going to be hearing from him that's out there. But what I wanted to just show is out of the top 6 guys, right, 2 are some of the larger schools. And we talk about Newport has played, right, a great schedule that's out there. Oh. Amherst, again, has played a very good schedule out there. We know against some very good teams and still averaging some of these big points, which I also think is real big and is something that could really be talked about. But look at Westfield's been in every game because of what Carson Swanson has done down there. And Ebersol's done the same thing when we talked about it at North Collins. Ebersol's another one who's been putting up some really big points out there. And then talk about, Niagara Wheatfield. Look, Fletcher's averaging 22.7 points per game.
All right, so that's AA's and A's. We're going to come back with the small schools in just a little bit and the Monsignor Martins. You're watching High School Sports Saturday on WNYA Athletics.
With exclusive buyer insights and our 100% money-back guarantee, we're confident we'll find buyers for your home. Howard Hanna. Home happens here.
Logistics Plus is a global transportation provider headquartered in Erie, PA with locations worldwide, including right here in Western New York. Logistics Plus is consistently recognized as a fast-growing transportation and logistics company, great supply chain partner, top freight broker, leading project cargo manager, and a great place to work. With a strong passion for excellence, our 500-plus employees put the plus in logistics. Call our Buffalo office today for an efficient, personal approach for all of your transportation needs.
Sometimes it just isn't your day. We all need a little help from time to time. That's why we're committed to providing safe, quick, and cost-effective pediatric care. And we keep it simple. Just walk in. We're here for you. Learn more today.
Back on High School Sports Saturday, Frank Wolf along with Tom Prince and Francis Beck, and today we're taking a deep dive into boys basketball here in Western New York. We've already covered Double A, A1, and A2. Now we're going to get into the Bs. Tom, who do you like in B so far this year, and what are some of the bigger teams coming out of Class B right now?
Well, again, I think it all begins and starts with Lewiston Porter right there is the thing we've already talked about. Their biggest win right now has to come last night over Niagara Falls. A great game. 56-52 is the final. Jalen Duff comes on big at the end for Lewiston Porter and comes up with a big win right there. You look at their only losses right now are to Niagara Wheatfield and to Clarence. You know what I mean? And really, you could see is capable of playing with some of the top teams in Western New York. It really will be interesting to see how it plays out. But you can't forget about Iroquois. You know, Iroquois is a team that's 7-4 right now. Obviously, they lost their big player in Trey Kleitz, but you're really now starting. No, lost their player in Trey Kleitz.
Oh, last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And obviously this year, Justice is one of the guys leading the way. And Justice coming out 18 points per game he's doing. And remember, this is a freshman out here leading the way, doing what he's doing. He's got a good complement of players, Ben Bowen, Jason Brosco, and he still has Nate McGoldrick right there, still being able to shoot the ball. Don't forget about Matt Mercurio also, who could shoot the ball. This team is very capable of also doing some big things. And I think right now you're going to see this is a team that could be getting better as the year goes on, and they get more acclimated as a team right there as to what their roles are going to be and what they're going to do a little bit differently that they may have done in the past. Depew is also a team we've already talked about. That's why we're going to see them play today against East Aurora, which is another team you better watch out for. Depew, their only 3 losses right now come against Allegheny Limestone, Salamanca, another top team, and Cheektowaga in a 2-point loss in that game. And East Aurora, we've already talked about with their big win. Their big win may be the one over McKinley right now, where they come up with a 2-point win in that one. But they've also got a win against Cheektowaga. Their latest loss comes against Pioneer, who's also in the mix in this division. Pioneer has been challenging them outside of division themselves. They actually have a win over Iroquois themselves early inside this season. They had a loss to Orchard Park, a loss to Olean, and a very close loss to Lackawanna, but then wins over East Aurora. So we really are going to see a division where a lot of these teams you're going to see is game in and game out are going to beat on each other, and it's going to be really one week I'm going to beat you, but the next week you're going to beat me type thing is where we're going to see stand inside this division. But the question will be what team I believe is going to be able to step up and challenge St. Louis and Porter inside this division.
Without a doubt. And then moving over to B2s, when you had a great rivalry game, well, not a rivalry game, but you had a great matchup yesterday that Chad Center Court was tweeting from, and that was the Salamanca Allegheny Limestone game in Salamanca, won by double-digit points there.
Yep, 50-39 was the final in that one, and we've talked about it. Here's another big player, Lucas Brown. We've been covering for a little bit right now, 17 points per game. Andy Herrick also having a year. We've talked about Andy too. We've interviewed him before, and he's at 17.4 points per game. So both of these guys right now, think about that, 34 points per game coming from them right there. that you're talking about and what they're capable of doing. But I agree, this was a great game with Allegheny Limestone at 7-1 on the season, and their first loss comes to Salamanca right there. But they've got wins over Depew, Pioneer, Randolph, some of the PA schools. They beat Olean. So you can see this Allegheny Limestone picking up right where it's been, as we've seen them at Buff State the last few years.
Saw them down in last year in
Yep.
Glens Falls.
You know, I just found this out. We mentioned Lucas Brown. He got 1,000 points yesterday. He's now 13 points away from becoming the boys' all-time leading scorer at Salamanca. And the other two guys who have over 1,000 points, I'm looking at their picture. One's in black and white, and the other is very clearly from more than a couple decades ago.
Wow. And he's been doing it for a while, right? I know we've gotten a chance to go down there and see him play. Plus, we've seen him play already all over Western New York, and he really is putting his mark out there. And he's, if I'm correct, he's a junior too.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So you're talking about a junior that really's got another year left in the mix to really put some big points up on the board and really separate himself as a true leader as the guy down in Salamanca.
And, you know, Falconers at 7-2. We got to start paying attention to what's going on there. Allegheny Limestone, that was their first loss of the season. There's some other teams that are right in the mix here, Tom. Even I don't even know if you could count out Bennett at 5-6. They're starting to play ball. They lost 4 or 5 out of their first 6, but they've won 4 of their last 5. I don't think they had a close game with McKinley last time out, but there's a certain football player going to UB next year that's starting to play his game. I wouldn't even count out a team like Bennett at this point. We think Salamanca is the class.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
But there are some other teams there that are just going to beat and bang on each other. And they're going
It's
to have
matchups. It's all about matchups.
Yeah.
So we talked about, we talked about the big guy really is not being as big here in Western New York. But, you know, you talk about what he can provide down low over at Bennett right there. And he's a big body. And listen, not only is he a big body, he is a strong body that's out there, right? So trying to fight for a rebound with him is going to be very, very difficult, right? Can Bennett then make your missed shots one shot? Can he be one of the big reasons that he's going to go in and be able to pull rebounds or be able to get those offensive rebounds to put back up? And can he really clean up the boards?
Or steal with his big wingspan.
Yeah, and he does. He's what 6'3", 6'2", 6'3", I think he's listed as. But that wingspan is at least 6'6". When you really see what he's capable of doing. So, absolutely. And Cleve Hill is another school that's going to be that's out there doing some things with a winning record right now. And they are led right now by Zach Phillips. Zach Phillips is a name that is known at Cleveland Hill. He's got some older brothers that have gone through and have been top stars, not only on the basketball court, but in the baseball field also. And he's the leader right there with 17. Cameron DeHilly also with 13.8 points per game for Cleve Hill right there. You're absolutely right. Anything can happen. And the beauty about basketball, it's about matchups.
That's all it is.
It's about matchups.
I took in Fredonia Dunkirk last night, rivalry game, and it was the bleach. There wasn't a place to sit. People all around. If that was for the JV game, that's how big this rivalry is down there. And I saw Ethan Fry, Keegan, but the one kid that really stood out from Fredonia to me, number 23, was Davion White. He's a football player also, just a junior 6'. He played a pretty good game. But Fredonia lost 3 in a row by 20 or more points. Clarence was one of them. Who else did they lose to? I just had that up. Clarence was one. I was looking through. Frontier, but they're going up, and Salamanca. That was the 68-48, so that was a tough one for them. But they get it turned around with a big rivalry win yesterday over Dunkirk. It was close at the half, but then they pulled away. Ethan Fry hit a three-pointer. I believe it was 14-14 at one point. Then he had a three-pointer to make it 17-14. And then they kind of built on that. But there was another – well, we'll talk about Dunkirk because there's one kid down there that can really throw the ball down who just played a very good ball game yesterday for Dunkirk.
Let's make one comment
There's
because
a Putney down there, by the way.
there's a Putney.
There's one more Putney left.
Well, one more still to come, huh?
He didn't look out of place yesterday when he got on the court.
A team we didn't talk about, but I just want to allude to right now is Clarence, because you brought them up, and we've brought them up in key wins right now because they've got wins over Lewiston Porter, Fredonia, West Seneca West, and Kenmore West. Their losses come to Lockport, 2 point, Lancaster, 1 point, Will North, 7, and Jamestown, 8. Like, even in their losses, right, they've been in every single game. Watch out. Clarence is going to be somebody that we're going to be talking about that could really get in the mix of things. And their first 3 games out of the gate were losses. So really, since those 3 games, they're 4-1. So watch out. I mean, Clarence is a team that we're also going to be talking about, I think, that could really get in the mix. They're led by quarterback Grayson White, right? A name we talk about constantly, 17 points per game. And then Sean Gilmartin at 12.9 points per game. So we just kept alluding to him, and we didn't talk about him in the double A's. So I wanted to give them a little bit of love right there.
The kid from Dunkirk, I wanted to give him some love. Number 2, I don't know what his name is because they don't have their numbers down here, but whoever number 2 is for Dunkirk threw down a dunk that was very impressive. He could jump. He could jump through the rafters. I think it was Lorenzo Lewis. I think that's who it was. Lorenzo Lewis. That was the kid. I'd have my eye on him if I was a recruiter. I'd be taking a look at him because he could play the game. He could play the game. And there was another kid. There's a bunch of kids on Dunkirk. I know they don't have an impressive record, but they had a couple of ball players there. Gregory Orcutt Jr., that was him. Greg Orcutt, number 23, just a sophomore. They're a bit of a younger team. They have some young guys that can play. I'd watch for them in a couple of years. Why don't we go on to Class C, and we'll get right into Class C. The standings right now, you were looking at Randolph leading the way at 9-1, tied with Holland. And Tom, what's your thoughts on them? Silver Creek's in there at 7-3. Frewsburg, we just did one of their games.
Holland, to me, what I said earlier in one of the broadcasts, maybe the biggest surprise when you look at teams this year that people weren't talking about. But Holland right now, off to a 9-1 start. They're only lost to Cleve Hill, one of the teams we've already talked about, and it was only a 4-point loss right there. So off to a great start right here. They've got 4 guys right now in double digits. Brady Wiscup at 15.3, Dax Benger at 13.3, Henry Anderson at 18.5, and Trenton Dominowski Ellis at 11.7. 4 guys right there in double figures. Now, you will want to look at a team. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are only 10 players on this team, right? And 4 of them right there in double digits, really right now playing the true team that you really need to do to be able to make a good team, especially when you've got a short bench. When you've got 4 guys that can light up the scores like that, at least if you shut down one, scoring could come from multiple guys, which is why this team is so dangerous.
And Randolph, Drew Hind is, the name is well known. And then in those neck of the woods, Carson Connolly not having a bad year. He's the quarterback of the football team, and then Jaden Huntington as well. So they've got 4 or 5 guys that are really putting some impressive. 3 guys who are putting up impressive numbers. I don't know how deep that bench is, Tom.
Well, it's the same thing.
You have that problem all throughout the
right. Especially when you get some of the smaller divisions right there. But again, 3 guys in double digits. You can't just shut Drew Hind down because Huntington's going to come up big, right? Or Conley could still score. So you got guys that are still, that you've got to focus on that are outside of just a Drew Hind to lead the way. Their only losses right now against Allegheny Limestone. So you could see, again, doing everything they can to really separate themselves down inside the C division. But I love Holland. I love Randolph. Silver Creek has also been great early on this season at 7-3. Frewsburg has had a couple big games at 6-3 already. I mean, think about their losses. Southwestern, they lost to Silver Creek by 5. and then lost to Randolph. So, I mean, their losses are big losses right there against some really top-quality teams.
Yeah, I thought Gowanda had a halfway decent record to start, but I see that they've beaten teams like Cattaraugus, Little Valley, who haven't won a game yet. So they're not there just yet, but still an impressive 6-6 record for the moment for Gowanda, and hopefully that's a team that we can talk a little bit more about. Wilson had a big win yesterday, too. They moved to 5-6. I noticed that they had won. Let's see who Wilson beat yesterday. Albion. So 5 points. So good team win there for Wilson. Going into Class D, Tom, and things get very interesting here. You got Clymer, who had a big one yesterday. I believe they're in front at 9-2, and not too far off is that 8-1 Panama team. How about Clymer, Panama, and who's that one? Sherman. Where's Sherman at right now?
6-4.
So,
but I mean, you got you got Panama, Westfield, North Collins, Clymer, right? Sherman, all those teams we talked about earlier, right? North Collins obviously led by their star right now, Derek Ebersol. And again, let's look at their loss outside of the area, Bolivar, Richburg. You've got a loss to Gowanda. You got a loss to Frugsburg. And you've got a loss to Eden in a 4-point play, in a 4-point game. So you can see some really good matchups right there. Clymer, 9-2 right now on the season. Who are their losses? Southwestern, Salamanca, right? Two really good teams right there. You've got Panama, who is 8-1. Their sole loss to Clymer, right? And you're going to see this where this Clymer-Sherman thing, right? So if you think about it, let's look at Panama, right? Panama wins on that last-second shot that they win over Westfield. Then they lose to Clymer. Then they beat Sherman. And then they win at Brockton, right? I think you're going to see a lot of this kind of go back and forth right now, between those teams. Westfield, 7-5, lost to Olean, lost to Southwestern, lost to Fredonia, 1 point to Panama, and then lost to Clymer.
We didn't mention this earlier, and thank you to Roger Weiss, who couldn't be here today. He's just sent this in. Yesterday, when the Jamestown girls defeated OP, Ken Ricker picked up his 161st win at Jamestown, 196 overall. He's counting all his Dunkirk wins. That's the new career standard for the Lady Red Raiders. So thank you to Roger for pointing that one out. And congratulations to Ken Ricker. He should have him on an upcoming broadcast down in one of our Jamestown crews, picking him up for a couple games. So.
We also had in that game, Marley Drake scored her 1,000-point Tuesday evening versus West Seneca West. So in that same game,
forget about her. Her older brother, who's a kid who just happened to be going.
I don't think they're older. I think she's the same age. Aren't they both seniors?
Good question.
I'll have to double check on this.
You double check that, but you often don't hear about her because of her brother that happened to be going to North Dakota State. Congratulations to her and the Drake family. One of the best in Western New York. Ben, the AD down at Jamestown, one of the best.
Agreed.
And pretty good.
I 100% agree.
Rolling along, there's 6 semifinalists heading from Section 6 heading to the semifinals out of the Eastern States. We'll get those names to you in just a little bit, maybe before we end this broadcast. Matt O'Rourke just texted that in to me. Still in D, Tom. We're talking. You didn't mention Panama just yet. They've got 8 players on the roster.
Yeah, no, we just did from a perspective of who their losses were right there. Yeah, I mean 8 players, right? But you've also got right now 3 of them that are pretty much flirting with double digits. Carter Brink is their top player at 21-1. Bryce Hinsdale at 10. Gabe Roth at 9. Those are your 3 big players right there. But watch this, right? You say, you talk about how many players we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players is what they got, right? But scoring averages, 7 of them have decent scoring averages. So it's not like they're all playing and contributing, right? Gabe Roth at 9, Hinsdale at 10, Brandon Keefe at 2.9, Brink at 21.1, Tate Cantonese at 5.4, Jordan Mescal at 5.4, and Alex Barmore at 7.3. But you can see is right there is everyone is making an impact on this team. And we've already seen it, right? The game they win over Westfield is really the pass comes from Gabe Roth to Hinsdale, and really it's Brink who's used as the guy to help open up right now the wings and for Hinsdale to make that shot.
Oh, and I did look it up. Marley Drake is also a senior.
Okay.
So, and I think what did Roger say last week? She's looking at playing the next level, possibly, D3, and he mentioned Brockport.
You're a 1,000-point scorer. You are absolutely capable of making and playing at the next level. There's no doubt about it.
Why don't we maybe take a break and then we'll come back and get Monsignor Martin. I'll have that pulled up for us, their standings.
We'll be back right afterward from our sponsors. You're watching High School Sports Saturday on WNYA Athletics.
Sometimes it just isn't your day. We all need a little help from time to time. That's why we're committed to providing safe, quick, and cost-effective care. And we keep it simple. Just walk in. We're here for you. Learn more today.
Do you insure a lot of businesses?
Yes, we do.
How about restaurants?
We got a bunch.
Do you cover property damage?
Yes, we do.
How about my equipment?
Covered.
How about sewer backup?
We got it.
What if my cook gets hurt?
They're covered.
Foodborne illnesses?
Covered.
What if my party tent goes down?
Covered under property damage.
And you say this is all under one policy?
One policy.
When do I pay?
Once a month.
Just one time?
Just one.
Is there anything you don't cover?
What's your record for consecutive questions asked?
31.
Tables. We don't do tables.
Gotta love Buffalo.
For all your insurance questions, call the Wolf at 835-WOLF.
We realize now more than ever is the perfect time to have the perfect house. We're confident we'll find your dream home. Howard Hanna. Home happens here.
Welcome back to the program. You're watching High School Sports Saturday. Thank you for watching. We do it every Saturday from 9 to 11. I want to thank Western New York Immediate Care with 4 great locations throughout Western New York. Empire Electric, Tony Palvrenti and his guys over there do a phenomenal job. Give Empire Electric a chance if you got some electrical needs. Just visit their website, Empire Electric, and Tony and we'll get back to you and get a crew out there to take a look at the job. Logistics Plus of Buffalo, you ship it any freight, give Logistics Plus Buffalo a call, 716-877-9653. Heidi will answer the phone. And we got the Wolf Insurance Company, of course, in Kenmore, at Kenmore and Lincoln. So 8 out of 10 wrestlers from Western New York have reached the semifinals. Matt O'Rourke on Twitter will have those out there for you. So give Matt a follow, and you'll see what's going on with our guys from Western New York out at Eastern States. 8 of them heading on to the semifinals. So congratulations to those guys. We'll be following you the rest of the day via Matt O'Rourke. Monsignor Martin, Tom, Bishop Timon, Canisius, St. Francis. Man, it's a logjam.
There is some good basketball right now being played inside the Monsignor Martin division. 8-2 overall, Bishop Timon, sitting 6-6, St. Joe's, 5-6, St. Francis, 6-4, Canisius, 6-3, Nichols. Just some fantastic basketball, and you're really going to see, a lot where we're going to go back and forth, where one team's going to beat the other team type thing. Right now, the losses for Bishop Timon, their loss comes from Canisius, a 4-point loss, and then they lost to Christian Brothers Academy out of Syracuse. So, again, challenging themselves to try to take on the next step inside them. St. Joe's, let me go back.
They're 3-1.
Yep, 3-1 inside division, 6-6 overall. But, again, a team that has went out and challenged themselves. Their loss against St. John the Baptist, Holy Trinity, both downstate teams. They have a win over Canisius. They have a win over McQuaid. They have a loss to Niagara Falls, a loss to North Hills Christian out of North Carolina, a loss to St. Francis, which was a 1-point loss, and then a loss to Aquinas, but a win over St. Mary's. So you can see these teams are really challenging themselves and going outside of the area, very similar to what we talked about with Niagara Falls, right, and what they were doing to really challenge themselves.
Because you have to.
Absolutely. If your aspirations are to play for state championships and to go for some big wins and to go for championship after championship, you better challenge yourself.
Yeah, because if you're winning by 40, 50 points a game, 30, 40 points a game, those opponents are not helping you to make a serious run at Glens Falls. They're just not. You have to face some adversity. You have to face some of that pressure.
Yep. And then Canisius, their big win against locally, they had beaten Health Sciences, right? A loss to St. Joe's by 3. They've got to win over Timon. They've lost to Aquinas, lost to Nichols in that double overtime game, lost to Lincoln Park Performing Arts, which is out of Midland, Pennsylvania. They beat Cathedral Prep. They beat St. Francis. Their big game will come against on Monday when we see Niagara Falls take on them in the Coaches versus Cancer tournament, or a slate of games. I shouldn't call it a tournament, but the slate of games that will happen on Monday. These teams are unbelievable. How about, on a personal note, how about what Ja'Kai Rainey did? 2 51-point games this season. 2, not just 1, 2 51-point games from Ja'Kai Rainey. I mean, this kid truly, if you really have watched this kid play over the years, I swear he could stand in the stands and just shoot from the stands and he'd make shots. I really believe that. I mean, I've watched him make shots all over the court. This kid, when he is on, one of the best, if not the best, in Western New York. That's how good he is. Shane Ciccone over at Canisius, another big player right there. You just seen, over and over and over again, how good some of these players are inside the Monsignor Martin division.
So if I can get to that Bishop Timon game, it's 4:15. Park's playing East out of Rochester at 6:30. I wonder if Nelson will drive me.
I'm sure he may already be there. I'll tell you that. So
yeah. Well, there's a girls' game. McKinley's playing. I think Olmsted's
there's
playing.
There's a game happening.
6:30 girls' game, but there's a girl Bullock that's should hit her 1,000th point for Olmsted today. And I remember her. That girl's a youngster running around Blessed Sacrament when her older brother, I think it was Brendan, was playing there, who was a pretty good high school basketball player in his own right, but. This little girl would always come to all of Brennan's practices, and she'd be out there shooting hoops after his practices or games. I remember that girl when she was probably 5 or 6 years old.
Wow.
So it'd be nice to see her hit her 1,000th point today. So I might have to stay and catch that. I guess she's supposed to do it pretty early on in the game. So we've got a lot of good teams here. You've pretty much covered them all, and the players. It's going to come down to the wire for all these classes in the Monsignor Martin. That Monsignor Martin Championship, I believe, is played down in Long Island this year.
Oh, you're talking about the state? I know there's. Yeah. I think we saw there's a semifinal that'll be here. I want to say that first week of
March.
But
who will that involve?
That's a good question. I know for hockey and other sports, it's just football in Long Island, but it's 2. But I know for other sports, like for softball and lacrosse, there's actually 4 leagues that play in it. I think that's what's happening is there's 4 leagues where it's not just one just so I think there might be one of those teams like be coming up here for a semifinal, and then hopefully with the Monsignor Martin team wins, they make it down state for a championship game.
Now help us out, for those that don't know, how is Monsignor Martin doing it? Is it like football where they split them up? Or is it just one division? I know the girls have, I believe, 2 divisions.
I think both of them have 2 divisions.
They do, but remember, they do it a little bit differently. They'll all play out for the upper division. And then, remember, they came out and then played a championship afterwards.
Canisius, did they not?
No, St. Mary's played Nichols to go to the B championship, if you remember that last year.
It depends on who finishes second or third and whether they're a big school or a small school. Kind of depends. I know there's...
It was Timon who went up and played right there for the A, if you remember, because they were capable of. So I think a lot of that's still going to be played out to see how it happens. And we didn't talk about Timon. They got 3 players over in double digits, right? Harrison, 21.8. Harris, 21.1. Humphrey, 16.2. junior, sophomore, junior.
Excuse me.
You know, and then, like we said, Rainey for Nichols, just doing it. And Parker Ray for Nichols is another name that's out there. I mean, just loaded this thing. This really is a year where would you be surprised to hear Nichols win? Would you be surprised to hear Timon win?
Well, isn't Nichols dealing with some injuries?
Well, but they're still, their top stars are still there. You know what I mean? Like I said, Rainey and Parker Ray are their two top leading scorers when you look at it. Yes, there is a couple injuries out there, but, you know, can they overcome it? That's what we're going to wait and see. But like I said, this is a year, right, where if Canisius won, nobody's surprised, right? If Nichols won, if Timon won, if St. Francis wins, right, or St. Joe's wins, it really is up in the air, right? Park School's starting to come on themselves right now to be able to start doing some things. St. Mary's trying to figure out life without Massimo right now, right? And you
difficult.
Listen, that was one of the tallest, and here's a true European star player that could hit a three from the outside or bang with you down low, right? Just unbelievable what we've seen from a division top to bottom. To me, no doubt this year, it's not even close. This is the best division in Western New York.
Why don't we take another break? We'll come back in just a few moments. That's a wrap of all of our boys' divisions by class. We'll be back on WNYA Athletics High School Sports Saturday after a word from our sponsors.
Western New York Immediate Care's new locations are now open. Whether you've suffered a minor injury or just aren't feeling well, Western New York Immediate Care provides safe, quick, high-quality care at an affordable cost. Our clinicians are trained to diagnose and treat non-life-threatening injuries and illnesses and are equipped with on-site x-ray and labs to help you feel better, faster. With 4 convenient locations open 7 days a week, Western New York Immediate Care is here to help when and where you need us. Visit us online to learn more.
Logistics Plus is a global transportation provider headquartered in Erie, PA with locations worldwide, including right here in Western New York. Logistics Plus is consistently recognized as a fast-growing transportation and logistics company, great supply chain partner, top freight broker, leading project cargo manager, and a great place to work. With a strong passion for excellence, our 500-plus employees put the plus in logistics. Call our Buffalo office today for an efficient, personal approach for all of your transportation needs.
When you're ready to buy a home, start your search at howardhanna.com. You'll be the first to see new listings, find similar properties, and connect with a local Howard Hanna agent. Get started today at howardhanna.com.
Welcome back to High School Sports Saturday on WNYA Athletics. This is our final segment. Frank Wolf with Tom Prince and Francis Beck. Francis, we've got a full slate of games coming up. We have one today, or two today, and then we have 5. Is it 4 or 5 on Monday?
Yeah, we have 5 on Monday. Let's start with Saturday. So 2 o'clock, Tom is going down with, I believe, Stu Boyer. It's going to be Depew versus East Aurora, 2 o'clock on the NFHS Network. Tom, what are you looking forward to in that game?
Listen, these are 2 great matchups that we've really talked about a little earlier on. Depew 6-3, East Aurora 4-4. I don't believe that those records really tell the whole story. Both teams trying to challenge each other a little bit outside of conference, and but these are 2 teams that no doubt are going to be teams that are going to compete for the spot in here for a title inside their own divisions, which is why kind of we decided to choose this game. I think this is going to be a great matchup right here to be able to see. For Depew, we look at things, or actually I'm going to start out with East Aurora. When you look at East Aurora right now, you've got Matt Horning averaging 14.2 points per game. You got Zach Bell at 10.5, and you got Hunter Gould at 10.4. Again, 3 guys in double digits right there, sharing the way for a team. And then we flip it over to Depew. They're guys to watch out for. Jeremy Clark at 16.4, Logan Shipley at 10.1, and Thomas Chi for Depew at 11.2. Now, what I like about that, when you talk about Depew, these are all returning guys we've been talking about for a couple years right here. And these guys are now getting their chance to shine. I really believe this is going to be a great game to watch, and it should be a very close matchup.
All right, and our second game coming up at 2:30, Jamestown versus Williamsville North. Our Southern Tier crew is on that one. Big battle in ECIC 1.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, listen, anytime you're going to get a chance to see a Jamestown-Will North matchup, right, you're going to jump on it. Will North, absolutely, a very defensive-minded team. They are going to be led – sorry, I don't have their stats. But you could see right now for Will North, right? So they've got wins in conference already against Orchard Park at 53-48, Frontier 55-49, a loss to Lancaster, which is a very defensive-minded team too, 33-31, a 2-point loss. They're going to be right in this game. This should really be a good one, especially if Will North can keep it as a low-scoring game and showing their defense off right there. Jamestown again 6-1, off to a fast start right here. Obviously led by Trey Drake at 14.4 points per game, Jaden Johnson at 13.6, and Sean Page at 10.6 per game.
All right, then we'll move on to Monday. It is the Coaches versus Cancer Winter Showcase at Hildreth College. Proceeds benefit the American Cancer Society. We have 5 full games, starting with the ladies, where you have Cardinal O'Hara again against Hamburg. That'll be at 11 a.m. 1 p.m. Hamburg boys are taking on Niagara Wheatfield. 3 p.m. it's McKinley versus St. Francis. At 5, Niagara Falls against Canisius. And then the nightcap is going to be St. Joe's versus Orchard Park. Quick reminder before, Tom, you talk about these games. All of our stuff is on the NFHS Network. Get your subscription now, because everything in the playoffs anyway is going to be on there. So if you just get your subscription now, you'll be already set for the postseason and the Section 6 and the state finals. So just take care of it all now, and you'll certainly get the bang for your buck. So Tom, those 5 games, I know we talked about all those teams. Just I think probably the game of I mean, they're all going to be good games, but I think probably the game of the day is Niagara Falls Canisius.
Oh, I think you actually have to say that. But don't count out the Cardinal O'Hara versus Hamburg girls game, too.
I'm told Strack's out.
Oh, okay. So
Roger sent that to me the other day. He said that he believes Strack is not going to play in this game may have been banged up.
Okay, so if she doesn't play, you've got to give the favor to Cardinal O'Hara. For those of you who don't know, Clara Strack is the Division I commit to Virginia Tech. She is absolutely something to watch. Hamburg early on has only 1 loss on the season. Their loss is to Bishop Ludden out of Syracuse. So have won all their games locally so far. So this was going to be the first real big challenge for them locally.
Strack, did she become the all-time leading scorer in Hamburg, like the school history for basketball? I believe she did.
I don't 100% know. It would be something we could find out, or Roger probably, I'm sure, could send in to us. Also, next game, Hamburg, Niagara Wheatfield. We've been talking about Niagara Wheatfield a lot, especially led by Xander Fletcher right there. Hamburg, though, is a team we haven't talked about a lot. They are 3-7 on the year, and right now, led by Jacob Koo, who is averaging 13 points per game for the Hamburg Bulldogs in that one. This McKinley St. Francis game should be also a very fun game to watch. We've talked a lot about McKinley. McKinley's only loss right now to East Aurora. This is going to be a big challenge for them. And again, we talked about the bigs. St. Francis does have the bigs, right? So let's see how Borden gets challenged in this game. Let's see how McKinley gets challenged in this game. This should actually be a very fun game to watch with both St. Francis and McKinley in this one. Niagara Falls, Canisius, I don't think we've really got to, live it up anymore. I mean, this is the game to me of the entire slate.
This feels like Canisius Lancaster football right now.
Yeah, that's a good, a very good analogy in my eyes. Definitely 2 of the top teams, period, in Western New York.
You've seen both teams. You know both teams.
Yeah.
What is Niagara Falls? What are they going to look to do against a team like Canisius? We know what each team would get out of the matchup. I mean, it's going to make both of them better ultimately. But what is Niagara Falls? What are they going to want to try to do in that matchup with Canisius? And the same question: what does Canisius want to do in that game against Niagara Falls?
So listen, to me, Canisius goes through Ciccone, period. Right? You've got to at least slow him down. Make other people in that game beat you is what you're going to have to do. You do that, and to me, that's the recipe for success right there for Niagara Falls. Because he's going to put up 20, right? He's going to get his numbers out there, but can the people around them actually come up big inside that game? And that's going to be the question right there. And now you're talking about for Niagara Falls has got multiple guys right now that is doing it, right? Robinson, Etzel, Rowlands are all big guys right there that you're going to have to be able to stop. It's going to be more of a team type thing to me when you're looking at one team versus another, what you're going to need to be able to do. Canisius may want to try to slow that game down a little bit more so they can really try to hone in on what Ciccone can do versus getting into a track meet with Niagara Falls. Okay. What were you going to say? You want to say something?
Well, I mean, is it going to be more like the Niagara Falls St. Joe's game that we saw earlier this year? Does it have that possibility?
But of a blowout? I don't think so. But listen, anything's possible in one game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't, it doesn't have a feel of that. Let's put it that way.
Okay, good.
And you know what I also like about Canisius? I mean, don't get me wrong. You've got Ciccone right now at 29.8 points per game. But there's a kid on that team that we were talking about years ago as one of the top players in Western New York and decides to go over to Canisius and has really changed his game. And that's Luke Granto right there. But still, when you look at what Granto can do, this kid can shut down point guards. This kid's got the capability of also having a game where he could go up for 30. We've seen him doing it as younger, but he's changed his game to adapt so he could play in this conference, and he knows his job in and day out is to take on the best point guard on the other side.
Real quick, I will point out December 13th, Joe's and Canisius did play, and Joe's won that game by 3 points.
Yeah.
So if that's any kind of barometer, obviously no, that was a month ago.
It's not.
But,
Newport lost to
if Niagara,
Clarence.
but if you're Niagara Falls, you're
Falls.
looking to that, not to be overconfident. You say, we can handle this team.
You can't, though. Like I said to you earlier, matchups are matchups, right? It could just be a bad matchup that happened to be in that game. Or a guy gets hot all of a sudden at one time. Like we just talked about Newport. Newport lose to Clarence by 20, right? But just went out and beat Niagara Falls.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's sometimes just matchups the day on. Like, did something was off? Weather was bad. I didn't get any sleep that night. I mean, who knows, right? It could be a million reasons why it doesn't happen. I wouldn't look to one game, though, and say, hey, we're going to go ahead and be able to beat these guys because of what we beat another team. Sometimes they just match up differently.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And you got to remember, too, a Canisius St. Joe's game is also a rivalry game, too, right? That is, you throw all records out the window just because everybody gets so pumped to play in a game like that.
All right, then our final game, St. Joe's team is facing Orchard Park.
Yep, and again, we talked a little bit about Orchard Park earlier here inside the broadcast. And again, Orchard Park, I think, had some key injuries right there that they're trying to get stronger on right now. Obviously, they're going to be led by, we've already talked about Dylan Evans, right? Dylan is actually averaging 12.2 points per game. But two kids we haven't talked about there enough is one, Howard Nation. Nation Howard, who's averaging 16.1 points per game. Chris McDonald was one of the kids who actually got injured, is actually averaging 14.2 points per game. Three guys in double digits right there. Don't forget about Chandler Klein, who's at 9.6. He's very dangerous from the outside. He is absolutely somebody that can hit a three. You knew his older brother that went through Orchard Park, the Klein, and he also very dangerous from three that we talked about. I also know, though, that Chandler a little bit bigger, so Chandler can play down low a little bit also. If this team starts getting, like I said, themselves a little bit healthy, this should be a team that's going to start competing in the middle of things, and we'll be able to see what happens out there. And then there's another name that really hasn't played a lot this season, but athletically could really help this team and could really bang down low with a lot of them. He's right now on the wrestling mat doing some big things, but he is onside this basketball team, and I've seen him play basketball. He's very aggressive, and he's a tough guy, especially when it comes on defense, and that's Brody Stevens.
So wait, he's playing wrestling and basketball at the same time?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard of that. I don't know about you guys.
I've
heard of two-sport athletes, but not those two sports.
No, again, but I mean, you hear a lot about basketball, track and field because they seem to go together very well. But Brody, all along, if you've actually got a chance to know Brody, Brody's a kid who has come up through the basketball ranks and has played basketball with Chandler and Dylan and Luke, my son, forever. I mean, these guys were the core of the travel basketball team that came through Orchard Park. And really what happens is because you've seen Brody be so successful outside in the football field, I think he gravitated towards wrestling very quickly. And then you really didn't want to lose what you had is some of that camaraderie outside on the basketball court, and it's a reason why he's able to play both sports right there. But you could see he obviously hasn't had the time and hasn't had to miss some basketball games because there's some big wrestling stuff.
And Matt O'Rourke just told me, I guess, Jordan Theodore at Sweet Home, he was supposed to do both basketball and wrestling this year.
Okay, which would make complete sense.
Yeah. I do want to point out... I did find out Clara Strack did become the all-time leading scorer in Hamburg history. That happened Thursday in their win. Trying to see who they faced, but West Seneca. So Clara Strack is now the leading scorer in Hamburg girls basketball program history. So congrats to her, the Virginia Tech commit.
So again, before we wrap up here, we have 8 semifinalists right now from Eastern States, as per Matt O'Rourke: Braden Kellis-Neglia from Newfane, Cullen Edwards and Frontier, Amarfio Reynolds from Niagara Falls, along with teammate Jaden Crumpler. Griffin LaPlante and his brother Gage are moving on, as is Cam Catcherbone and Jack McDonald from Orchard Park. So congratulations we had 8 out of 10.
That's pretty good.
So that's very good. Congratulations to them. And again, you can follow at Matt O'Rourke 1 on Twitter. He is there live, and he'll have a full report once the finals have been finished up there. You can look for that on WNYA Athletics, as well as his weekly roundups and those sort of things. And on Wednesday, they'll be out at Niagara Wheatfield for a Niagara Falls wrestling match, which should be a great one, especially on how well they did just this past week at Lancaster. So the wrestling schedule starting.
I mean, that place is always packed.
Nick Massaro, 100th win for St. Joe's. Congratulations to him. 100 varsity wins for Nick Massaro from St. Joe's, if you didn't mention that at the top of the hour.
And real quick, we didn't talk about St. Joe's. 3 players to watch out for in that game, right? Isaiah Odom leading the way. Sam Greco and Jameer Gooseby are the guys that watch out for when St. Joe's plays Orchard Park in that last game.
Well, that is going to do it for the latest issue of High School Sports Saturday here on WNYA Athletics. Next Saturday, I believe we're all here. I'm here. Yeah, we're all here. Next Saturday, 9 o'clock, right?
Yeah, do we want to do... Probably got to do one of the hockeys next week. We did do both of the basketballs.
Yeah.
We
did girls hockey.
No.
And boys hockey one week, no?
No. Not when I was here. We'll figure it out.
We'll have something. Maybe we'll do hockey next year, or next week. Sorry, next year. Next week we'll probably do hockey then. But I'd like to get bowling too. I want to make sure we get those kids in.
Track and field.
Track and field, and then cheerleading is coming up. Cheerleading and gymnastics. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll be doing their Section 6 championships on the NFHS network.
So thank you very much for tuning in on this Saturday morning, and we'll see you next week right here back on High School Sports Saturday. For Tom Prince, Francis Beck, I'm Frank Wolf. I bid you a gracious day.
Does he do car? Forget about it. How about home? Forget about it. Does he get good rates? Forget about it. And you're saying there's no problem too big for this guy? Forget about it. This is Johnny, the guy we've been talking about. Johnny, Paul Wolf.
Mr. Wolf, it's nice to meet you. Thank you for the invite.
Not a problem. It's Paul, not Mr. Wolf.
Oh, sorry, Paul.
Johnny, forget about it. For all your insurance needs, call 835-WOLF. And...
Avoiding care can lead to worse problems. Don't delay care. We're here for you.
When you're ready to buy a home, start your search at howardhanna.com. You'll be the first to see new listings, find similar properties, and connect with a local Howard Hanna agent. Get started today at howardhanna.com.
Being home.